Hey guys, this is Josh from Down to the Roots. It has been 12 days since I've started this worm bin, and my worms have come in today. What I did was I come in here once a day, stirred up the bedding, and kept it aerated. And I've kept this lid on it. I normally don't use a lid, but I'm going to try to use one in here because we have mice that gets in here every so often, and I don't want them digging in the bed, eating food scraps and worms and stuff. So I'm going to try to use a lid. I might end up taking it off and doing it like I usually do if it starts getting too much moisture on the inside of it and the worms try to escape. But one thing I want to mention about using a lid, on my previous one that I did, this is the lid that I used for it whenever I first started. But the other bin is out there. This is the second bin that I had bought. This one does not have any hose in the side of it. The other one, I ended up putting some hose in the side of it, which ended up being a mistake. Because whenever the worms move up, sometimes they're not the smartest things. Some of them will try crawling up, and they end up out of the bedding. Well, if they come out the side hose, they fall straight down, dry up, and die. But if you only have hose in the top of it, if they do crawl up, they'll come up out of these hoses and end up in the top of this lid, and they still have a good chance of finding a hole and going back down in. So that is one note I wanted to make on using the lid. And like I said, I won't use it this time. If it ends up being a problem, I'm gonna take it back off. But I normally don't keep a lid on it. The worms I ordered last Saturday. They shipped out Monday. I got them from Northwest Red Worms. He has a YouTube channel you might want to check out. He shows his process and how he harvests and all that stuff. So I really like some of his videos and how he takes care of his worms and everything. So that's why I decided to order from him this time. The bedding on the inside is still damp. I've come in here, tossed it around once a day, like I said, and aerated it. Now once the worms are in here, you don't want to toss it around and mix it around. The worms will keep it aerated on their own, and the less you disturb them, the happier they're going to be. They'll do better if you just put food in there, keep them new bedding in it, and just let them do their thing. So I'm going to set you up on a tripod here, and we will open the worms up. I have opened the box, but I have yet to take the zip tie off of the bag and everything. So I'm going to get you set up on a tripod, and we'll open the bag, and I'll show you how I put them in. Okay. Now, looks like they use sawdust as a packing material, which is good. It's a breathable bag. It says 1 pound red worms. I ended up ordering 1 pound to put in this bin, which will be about right. It's just a breathable bag. Okay, cut that little tab off there. There we go. Zip tied on. Let's see. I don't know if you can see this or not, but looks like a peat moss material. Peat moss is what they've packed it in. A lot of the worms going to the bottom. Pretty good sized worms. They're going to lose some weight in shipping, which is normal, but they seem pretty lively. Let's dump them out in the bed over here and see what they do. What you do whenever you dump these out is you want to put them in the center of the bed. You don't want to cover them up just yet. Just let them go down in, but put them in the center of the bed. The less you handle them, the happier they're going to be. Let them spread out on their own. You don't have to mix them in or nothing. They'll go down because of the light. So I'm going to put them in my bin. Let's see. Yep. Just dump them in the middle of the bin. That's how I introduce worms to a new bed. And I'm going to leave the light off of it. A couple more in there. I'm going to leave the light on over top of it. I mean, leave the lid off of it. And let them work their way into the bed. You can see a huge ball of worms. Look at that. Nice red worms. You can tell by little yellow tails they have. But those are some healthy looking worms. But dump them in the middle. Touch them as little as possible. There's some little babies in there. Touch them as little as possible, and they will go down into the bed. So I'm going to give them 15-20 minutes or so to go down in, and I will get back with you and show you what I do after I put the worms in the bed. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes now. You can see most of the worms went down in already. So now I'm going to put some dry bedding on top of it. What I'm going to use I am going to put a thin layer of the shredded up cardboard. Then I'm going to put some of the coarse torn up cardboard that I did by hand. So the dry bedding that you put on top is what's going to help keep the worms down in, and it's going to help regulate your moisture levels. It will soak up any moisture that is in the bed, like too much moisture that's in the bed, and it will hold down the moisture to keep it from evaporating so quick, just like mulch does in a garden. So you want to keep a layer, about a 2-3 inch layer of dry material on top of the bed at all times. You'll have to add a little bit every so often because it will get damp and the worms will go through it. So I'm going to put mine up to about this line. That's going to give me about 3 more inches of material on it. Normally, you would leave the lid on it, but for the first few days, I am going to leave the lid off because that will keep it drier up here and that'll make the worms want to stay down. It's going to take them a few days to get used to the bed and want to actually stay in there. You shouldn't have too much trouble out of them because they are in a live bedding now instead of just dumping them into a sterile bedding. If you would just dampen the cardboard like I talked about in the other videos. So they should stay down pretty good, but I'm going to give them a few days to get settled in. They have plenty of good damp bedding, plenty of food in there right now. And then I will come back and feed them after a few days. So I'll make a video on feeding them. First time that I feed them, just explain to you how I do it and how I'm going to rotate the feedings and everything. But after we get all this bedding on here, all we'll do is just let it sit for a few days, and I might come in here once a day and look at them, just pull the top bedding back a little bit, see what they're looking like. But I will wait a few days before I feed them. So that's the video. I'm gonna finish putting all this bedding in the top of it. It's about enough right there. And put them back over here in the corner and let them settle in. So thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. That way you can keep up with this new series that I'm doing. And I'll see you in a few days.